Hey guys, how's it going? I'm the Duke of Italy, your favorite lo-fi, drained music YouTuber, and we're back with another video talking about Bladee. It's been, like 8, 9 months or something like that, but I'm glad to talk about him because I've been working on this video genuinely for a very long time. I was originally going to make a top 10 Bladee songs list, and I decided to make it top 20 because there's so many Bladee songs I want to mention, and I didn't want to get that much hate because I know someone in the comments is going to be like, Duke, you're wrong, and I am wrong, but that's okay. But today is the top 20 Bladee songs, in my personal opinion, and this is sort of a big thing for me because, Bladee is my number one listened to artist this year. I got a top 1% of Bladee listeners purely from getting ready for this list because I had to compare every song like 3 different times. I was really making sure. And in fact, still, number 1 and number 2, I could switch them around. But I wanted to give a special thank you to the person who made my thumbnail. This is the person who made, I think, my Wordle thumbnails back in the day. This is Jen. Go follow on Instagram. And also, Jen's going to give their own top something Bladee song. So, Jen, take it away, Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jen. I'm one of Duke's friends at SCAD. We've been long-term friends, and sorry, I don't have a good camera here. I have a Logitech. But anyways, I was invited to talk about Bladee. We're both, huge drainers, except I'd say Duke is more of a drainer than me. But I've liked Bladee for almost Bladee. She called me Bladee. I've liked Bladee for almost a year now, so I'm gonna just talk about my top 5 songs in no order whatsoever. Just because ranking them all in order I feel like is unfair. He has a lot of great albums and songs, and we could talk about this for hours. It took Duke a long time just to gather his top 10, top 20, let alone. So I'm just gonna try to break down my top 5 the best I can. And I'm no music expert. I really like a lot of genres like hyperpop and, underground hip hop. My main genres are probably like industrial metal, so I'm just gonna do my best to explain why I like these songs. Again, sorry for the shitty camera quality, but let's get right into it. So number 1 is Vanilla Sky, which is a single in 2019 he released with Ecto 2K. What particularly drew me into this song is the fact that it just sounds like it belongs in an anime. I love the anime cover. It's very fun and whimsical. So that's kind of why it's on my list. I would say I guess it's number 5, but again, we're not ranking them, and I could go just more into detail why I like this song. Is it one of his stronger songs in his discography? No. Do I like the song? Yes. Anyways, let's continue. Popular one here, Side by Side on Trash Island, which was gone on Spotify, very devastating, with Tyroid Digital. First of all, the fact that this song has a Miku cover is a 10 out of 10 in my book. Go find it if you haven't. I'll have Duke link it below if I will remind him. But yeah, this song is very strong lyrically. The combination of the two. Loving You in My Afterlife as a lyric. Love that. It's just a very fast song that just fits the aesthetic of the album. It's very danceable, and I actually love when Drainer songs can be danceable, because some of them I feel like you just want to sit down and cry. Others, especially when you listen to the album Ever Since, I listened to that at a bad time last winter, so yeah, if you really want to dance to something fun and just sing along to a good Bladee song, or an easy song to listen to, what the fuck is Drainer, Side by Side. Number 3, Cherry Bracelets. This is kind of a weird one coming from working on Dying, an older album, and it features both Ecto 2K and Young Lean, who Young Lean, by the way, kind of got me into this whole sort of genre, even though he is not a part of Drain Gang. Or at least, yeah, no, he's not in Drain Gang, I don't think. Unless he's been added, I doubt, I don't think so. But this song is really cute, I guess. You could put it that way, but I just really enjoy any of the Young Lean features. I'm slowly becoming more of a Young Lean fan, although some may argue that he doesn't sound as enthusiastic or passionate about his music as Bladee, but I beg to disagree, and I think his lyrics go in well with Echo's and Blade's. And I just also realized all of these songs, except for, I guess the last one I'll briefly talk about, they have features from either other members of Drain Gang or Young Lean. Number 4 is The Flag Is Raised. Crest, the album that came out this passing year, came out the spring or the summer. Crest, I love it. Especially all the echo features. Sure, some are like, this album is too fruity. But no, I think the album is very, very fun, danceable. It feels like he got to put in more, like experiment more with it, with both like the lyrics as well as like the instrumentals. Just, it's a very like easy, fun listen, and that's why I highly, highly love just the album Crest, and The Flag Is Raised is probably my favorite song on there. And again, another thing about Blade's music too is vocal range, when or just like some of the lyrics being kind of silly, like the feeling it's just, I really adore that. And finally, speaking of Ever Since, I'm just gonna briefly talk about Who Goes There. Who Goes There is kind of like, first it's a really strong start to listening chronologically Ever Since. It just hits me, gets me hooked, especially the little doot 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 in the beginning. Like, this feels like Blade is becoming more comfortable with sharing more of his just like sadness in his music. Like, oh, I'm more than just this flashy drainer sort of rapper. I really want to show, like, push my talent forward. Like, I feel like this song and this album kind of cements Blade as a more popular artist, as how he slowly like immersed himself in the mainstream. But again, I'm very happy I got to be a part of this video. Bye.
But I want to give some honorable mentions first because I really want to mention some other stuff. I want to mention there's nothing from Working on Dying on this list. Nothing on that album really reaches the peaks of the best Blade songs for me. I think a lot of those songs are very good. I think it's a solid little mixtape. I maybe would pick like Lordship as the best one on there. And also the Good Luck normal version. I would probably say like Into One is the best track off there, maybe Grace. But if we were counting the deluxe edition, one track that got probably in the top 30 songs was Gates. I thought that one was very special. And also a song that was considered for the running but didn't quite make it was from R.I.P. Blade. It was 7-Eleven. And the last honorable mention I should mention, which would actually be number 21 in my opinion, is Shadowface off of Glue, the best song off of Glue in my opinion. I know a lot of people are going to hate me in the comments for that. I don't really care. Delete was in the running too, but I think Shadowface is better. But all the other mixtapes and albums and singles are represented on this list. Basically, the only rule going forward was that it has to be a main Blade song. So nothing from Crest is on here, but believe me, if Crest was on here, Chaos Follows, Flag Is Raised definitely would show up, maybe Faust. But I really don't want to have to consider any more songs than I already had to because it's just so much. So without further ado, let's get into the top 20. Number 20 is already Curveball for many of you out there. This is BBY off of The Fool. Incredible. Just an incredible song. One of the most energetic, most banger-esque songs that Blade has. Blade isn't really known for his bangers, but this song is just immense. The lyrics are super fun. The synths are bright and flashy. Rip Squad does a great job on production. It's just a phenomenal track overall. Seeing it live, I can just tell everyone would be rolling to it. It's a great live pick. I doubt Blade will ever watch this video, but if he ever wanted to pick a song for live performance, BBY would be a fantastic choice. And at number 19, we have Rainbow Star, Love Is All off of the Exeter mixtape. Exeter is a criminally underrated mixtape, and I think Rainbow Star is a phenomenal track, not just because of what it does in the first 2/3, but the sort of part where it melts and you get the words of blood, and it's actually rather bright and positive. It's a really interesting way that Blade will turn a message around in a song, or he'll turn the connotation of a word into something that means something more, and he actually expands upon themes like that in Crest. But also, it's one of the most flashy, bright, and lush production from Good. I don't see why anyone could dislike the song. It might be a little weird for anyone who's a fan of Blade typically, or anyone at all really, but I just love it. And at number 18, we have Wings in Motion, the opening track off of 333, a track that is actually acoustically backed, and he sings one of my favorite messages in a Blade song. It's a message about how your mental health can wax and wane, and your health in general, and just your luck in life. And it's a song about sort of recovering through like this mindset of it ripples, its wings in motion. And it's also some of the most interesting, lush production you'll ever hear. First time you hear it with a good pair of headphones, you will get chills. It is a fantastically produced, fantastically sung. The climax of the track is amazing. The pacing is great. There's really nothing to complain about. And number 17 is the closing track off of Ice Dancer. I should mention, if you've seen my other Blade video, Ice Dancer has improved a lot in my eyes. I gave it a 4 out of 10 there. I'm very sorry for that, honestly, because I think it's a lot better than those other times I heard it. I think a lot of these songs really hold up, but one of those is the closing track, Anything, which has a beautiful message of positivity, which is really nice. The Rip Squad production is melting. It's icy. It's super slick. And Blade's vocal performance here is probably one of the best that he does in his whole catalog. And at number 16, we have Decay off of Red Light. This is a song that I easily considered for my top ones a long time ago. It used to be my favorite. It's actually my number one played song of the entire year. Just the flow of Blade is fantastic. The hook is really catchy. It's really fun. The swooping synths that come in right before that MIDI piano line, what's not to love? I was actually hoping I'd see Blade do that when I saw Drain Gang live in Atlanta in March. He didn't do it, but yeah, I mean, I'll hold the song forever in my heart as being one of the catchiest, most interesting Blade songs without being too experimental for Blade standards. And number 14, another song from The Fool. This is Trendy. One phrase that pretty much is why this song is here. I pulled a Joker card on you. I didn't mean to startle you. It's one of the most hype transitions that a Blade song has ever provided. It's also a great vocal performance overall. It's just super massive. The opening synthesizers from Rip Squad sound just so fun. The way they just blast in with so much energy. This and BBY are tracks on The Fool that make the pacing something really worthwhile. And I just love this track. This and BBY are the bangers off of The Fool, and I just love everything about this track. Like, the lyrics are awesome. Like, every time I get a triumphant Blade track, it's really something special. And number 14, we have Noblest Strive off of 333. I should have mentioned you're going to see a whole lot of 333 representation on this list here because 333 is one of my favorite Blade albums, and for good reason. This song has probably one of the most interesting messages of Blade. Blade was really on a good spiritual kick for 333. It had one of the most interesting lyrical explorations of any album he has, and this is one of those songs that is just phenomenal in that regard. There's a really interesting drum section where the synths will like really rise up further and further in the mix. It's really an inspiring track, and the lyrics are just sublime. At number 13, off of Red Light, we have Puppet Master. Some of you would put this in top 10 Blade. Some of you would say it's number 1. I'm putting it at number 13. A very different song for Red Light, as the guitar part is super new for Blade at the time, and I actually say it's like a better version of Skin, the track off of Ever Since. And the words are awesome. You know, I love how Blade occasionally would contrast the flexing with some serious mental health struggles. It kind of shows like a coping mechanism that doesn't fully work. And also the production is sublime, the way it progresses through and adds more and more synths. And the string part that opens it up is really nice as well. And the line of push my puppets into place that ends the whole thing ends it on such a melancholic note. For whatever reason, this didn't end Red Light, I guess just to not copy Ever Since, but, you know, it's really worth your time. At number 12, an album that I have not yet spoken about on this channel, I believe. I've done some notes on it, and I'm happy to say it is one of Blade's best albums, to be honest. This is Haha off of Spider. It is an incredible track. It's Blade doing a second foray into Rage, his first, in my opinion, being the track Hundreds off of 333. This track has a massive, thick build of synths and that instantly iconic hook of I'm crazy, I'm crazy, I'm crazy, I'm crazy, I'm crazy, 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 which a lot of people like might see is kind of weird from like looking at a lyrical sheet, which people have made fun of on Twitter and stuff. But I find that to be kind of not a good critique because it's got so much energy and so much hype, and it almost like paints a really good picture of a manic struggle as you sort of switch back and forth between accepting yourself and loving yourself and truly hating yourself. And also the way the production progresses is genius, honestly. It's one of the weirdest Blade songs, but at the same time it's one of the best. And at number 11 we have the only remix on this list, I believe. This is Wet Water 333 featuring Cartier God. Here's the thing about Cartier God, I make fun of him a lot, and I stand by a lot of what I say because Cartier God's feature on Ice Dancer is the weakest feature on Ice Dancer. And despite the odds, he comes in with one of the best Blade features. First of all, Wet Water is a good song on its own, but the way it's mixed on this remix is so much louder and so much more hazy. It's almost like it took a trip to like the Gravity Boys compilation or even Glue. And it's so hazy. And the feature of Cartier God is one of the most, it sounds drunk, honestly, but it's so cool at the same time. And probably the best part is how the synths rise up to this almost like a Nine Inch Nails type of sound where it just glides through. It's super bright. Cartier God comes in with one of his best vocal performances to date, and then Blade comes back with the I Fall Apart and Come Together. It's fantastic. It's one of the most uplifting Blade moments. It's a real shocker of a track, finding that just on YouTube with the video of the concert that actually I saw. And at number 10 is a classic off of 333. This is Ecstasia. It's a rather meditative track. If you like some of the better cuts off of Stars, this is by Young Lee. This is probably going to be one of your favorite 333 tracks. The way the hook just bounces off of itself feels like ecstasy is... It's full of ecstasy, to be honest with you. It's just a gorgeous sound. The bars are really minimal. The way it progresses is slow, and yet it slowly builds upon itself. The lyrics are minimal, but it's just this hazy psychedelic experience. It's really not a lot of other Bladee songs are quite like it. For 333, it's just another standout. As many of those songs are a great album, but Ecstasia is one of the most beautiful parts on the whole thing. And it's one of the most beautiful parts in Blade's catalog. It's truly something that feels amazing. It's a good song when you're driving, especially. And at number 9, what else but another track from 333, Reality Surf. Good came through on this track with one of the most interestingly produced tracks here of the sort of looped vocal sample. And the little chiptune-esque drum part is insane. And it's really the production that is the highlight here. That's probably why most people will put this on their list. But you really can't discredit Blade's lyricism at the same time. Like those lines are so interesting. Like venom in the vial. Like it's like, what does that even mean? But it's the imagery of like the princesses, N64, religion. It's so awesome. It's just one of those. It's a track that very much proves as to why 333 is such a great album. It combines all these elements. It's basically the most popular track on that album for a reason. And at number 8, y'all knew it was coming. The final track off of Ice Dancer, Waster. One of the most bright and interestingly produced tracks in Blade's entire catalog. One that has this crunched up, really crispy sounding beat, honestly. And I love how this track progresses, how the hook, it develops even further as it continues, and the additional harmonies are added in from Bladee. Dude, the fact that you get me to compliment Blade singing is a huge thing. And the themes of being sorry to his mom for like wasting his life with drugs, it really hits a really close note. It hits really close to home. One of the best produced Bladee tracks easily. And next at number 7 is Valerie off of 333. My personal favorite 333 track. It is just a sublime cut of religious introspection and really holding a female figure to a light that is really on such a pedestal that nothing else can touch it. Using the imagery of Saint Valerie, who's like a Christian figure, is super cool. If you guys don't know the story, Saint Valerie actually was a saint who was beheaded and carried her own head and walked with it like across like an altar. But it adds this really interesting like manic set of imagery here, and the ideas of commitment and losing opportunities are one of Blade's best set of themes to date, and it's one that he uses pretty often and usually to at least some degree of success. And here is just another example. One of the most emotional moments on 333, one of the most emotional moments in Blade's entire catalog. Fantastic track. At number 6, finally glad that this album's showing up here. We have Who Goes There off of Ever Since. Icy production from White Armor. This sort of march sounds awesome. You got iconic bars such as "No touching, I find it disgusting." Who couldn't remember that one? I mean, you've got really simple lines that are rather direct with things like "The world seems so distant," but it's this production that has this really icy sort of, it almost sounds like you're stepping through snow as like the bass, which I think is such a cool element. And the sort of sense, it's the tone of this track that really sets in so well. One of those pervasive tones in a Blade track in history. And the reason that Ever Since as an album is so successful to me is because of Who Goes There as an opening track. It sets the emotion in perfectly, and that is a hard thing to do. And at number 5, we have a track off the Gravity Boys compilation, or a Blade single, if you will. And I'm glad I got to bring up an old Blade track on this list at least once. I did consider Oxygen a bit, but I thought just the production of that version wasn't amazing. But I do love the live version he did with Echo 2K on that one live video on YouTube that shows up. But this one is My Magic is Strong. Clear and definitive Blade banger. Absolutely. And it's the really sparse production from White Armor that he used to use back in the day that combined elements of ambient and synths that were just super bizarre, and the extra like little synth bits and the samples of stuff. It's really early version of like our modern hex D sound. We wouldn't get hex D or digicore the way it is today without My Magic Is Strong. I can promise you that. But I love how utterly insane these bars are. You know, one of the first cases of Dream Inside of a Dream, which is an iconic Blade line he uses on every single album now. And these tracks about having his power be so maxed out. It sounds like he's literally on like Molly or something, and he's just so cracked out. Not to mention the iconic Blade movie sample used to open it up. This track, even though for being a minute 58 long, is just a legendary piece of work here. I recommend you guys all check it out because it's a bit of a deep cut. And at number 4, I was mentioning earlier how Who Goes There was the reason for Ever Since's success, but helping it reestablish this theme a bit into the album is the track Romeo. Being a lot of similar ideas to that track, it's got the same icy production, even synthesizers that sort of mimic an icy texture. And the iconic line, I feel like Romeo, Montclair coat when it's cold, is just such an instant way of knowing what Blade is as an artist, as a concept, using like this flexing to like hide the pain. And the verse on this track here, it's a simpler Blade track where he used to do like chorus, verse, chorus, and then it was done. Just the way it all progresses is fantastic until it eventually reaches the line, to feel something, I'd do anything. Which, I mean, Blade used to have some really strong yet simple bars back in the day. And it's something that I still can't get over. Number 3, I was very surprised that a track off of Spider would reach this high on my list, but I'm glad it did. It is an utterly beautiful track, as long as I'm understanding it correctly here, because I've heard rumors the theme is a little different. Uriel outro off of Spider, the final track there, is utterly gorgeous. I love the sort of callbacks to a lot of 333 style production that White Armor brought back of sort of guitars paired with the synths and the noisy sections. And I love the slow delivery of Blade's singing. It's probably Blade's best singing to date. And honestly, you guys might think this is embarrassing, I felt actual religious connection to the song, because ideas of humanity being imperfect in the scope underneath an almighty, all-powerful God is something that's rather powerful. And this comparisons and using Uriel to prove that like we aren't perfect and therefore we don't have access to the Garden of Eden in a way is something that's so interesting. And it's such an encouraging track at the same time, and that it's like it uses like these huge lofty religious set of imagery to talk about your own personal struggles, because, you know, I mean, we're all connected in these ways. So grounding our struggle, but like giving it such like divine qualities at the same time is something that's so insanely interesting. I don't know how you guys feel about that track, but I love it. Finally, we have reached the top 2 Blade tracks, in my opinion, and these two could honestly be switched around. I re-listened to them so many times. They're both in my top 10 songs of the year easily. And they're both masterpieces in their own right for totally different reasons. And that is one thing to always appreciate about Blade's catalog, is that he's got so much stuff going on. Every song has something to add. But number 2 is the abstract, the weird, the artful, and the immensely beautiful, one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard in my entire life, off of Exeter, DNA Rain. I don't really know what to say about this that hasn't been said by your smartest friend before, because this is an underrated track. Exeter is underrated as a whole. This track is immensely underrated. And the bars are so spiritual and interesting, even though they're not too complex, but it's the simplicity of these ones in particular that really connects with each and every one of us. But it's the production of the synths that are melting. It's like this sounds like Blade's version of Melting Sun by Landloss. That's an album I used to mention all the time, and it makes no sense to mention in a Blade video, but if you listen to that album, you'd get the exact same feeling, because it's huge sounding. It's melting. It's so bright. It's like the actual sun is giving you a kiss. And if you don't like the sound of that, then I don't know what to tell you. So number 1, we're finally here. Took me long enough, and I'm having to re-record this now because I forgot to mention it. It's one of the only tracks here with a feature, but it is Obedient featuring Echo 2K off of Red Light. I had to have an Echo 2K feature on here. Echo 2K is so interesting of an artist, and it's one of the reasons Crest, well, clearly he's one of the 2 artists on the album. One of the reasons Crest is just a phenomenal piece of work that it is. But what is Obedient? You know, if you haven't heard it before, go listen to it right now because you have to. But just the harpsichord sound effects, how icy the whole thing sounds, how fast it's running. It literally is a song that feels like you're running out of time, because the theme is that we're running out of time and you don't want to waste your opportunities in life. It's sort of like a romantic look at it, almost like romanticizing like actually romanticizing like a goal of some sort, or potentially a significant other. But it's all these themes of Blade, especially when he's bringing imagery of medallions and castles, and it's a very medieval sounding track in terms of, you know, cloud rap and the Drain Gang aesthetic. But he really incorporates all these ideas of missing out on opportunities, and how his dangerous lifestyle at the time could very much lead to something that does not connect with this woman anymore, and it could lead to his eventual death. And the Echo 2K verse is so beautiful and amazing. It's one of the first instances of Echo 2K using like more of his androgynous style of vocals, and it's a trend that he's always going to do because it's amazing. And the way he brings back the same motifs of the verse for the second time, it's poetic actually. And the whole track closes out just before the 3-minute mark with the really melancholic harpsichord synths. It's a very powerful sounding track, and one that I personally believe is my favorite Blade song. And that is my list. Thank you guys so much for watching. This took actually 5 months to prepare. I am not joking. It was actually this hard for me to pick my favorite Blade songs, but I'd love to hear what your favorite songs were. How wrong was I? How much do you hate that I didn't include Delete, or your other favorite Glue song, or D925, or Best Buy? But I love you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe. Any comments, questions, or concerns down below, I would appreciate. I'd appreciate even more if you had to talk about Blade down below. Tell me your favorite Blade song, because I actually really want to hear. And then maybe I'll go look at it and find something I didn't appreciate like I should. But that is about it. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Have a good day. Bye.